Welcome to a special edition of Training Unleashed. I have Chris McChesney. Chris is the author of I'm going to let you say the name of the book because I'm going to distinctions of
Four disciplines of execution. It's a mouthful. We didn't know anybody would read it.
Yeah, and I'm very dyslexic, so I tend to mix things up.
Me too.
And Chris and I just recorded a podcast on his book, which is a great book. But we're going to actually talk right now totally about what to do now. Okay, what to do now. So people listening are sitting here saying to themselves the following things. I have no idea when this is going to end. Many of them, I have no idea, how if I'm going to even make it. I've got employees that I care about dearly. And one of the 7 habits, which is start with the end in mind, which I love, great, it's a great thing.
Difficult to do that now.
Yeah, well, I personally believe tons of opportunity will be at the end of this catastrophe.
Yep.
But what advice do you give to people on how to even think about planning with what's going on?
So, Evan, this whole time, and our worlds have been disrupted. What you and I do has been disrupted about as much as anybody. I've really been very reflective of a book I read a year and a half ago called Nonsense, The Power of Not Knowing. And that title hasn't worked until right now. And it really worked. And let me tell you what this is. This is a work, and it really related to the work in 4 disciplines. This is all about how a human being handles ambiguity. Right now, we have a global experiment in a human being's reaction to ambiguity. And this author makes the point that you can understand just about everything you want to know about mental health through the lens of how a person handles ambiguity. And so, learning and really getting a handle on yourself in these moments has been absolutely, can I share a little story on this just to kind of throw us into the conversation?
Yeah.
All right. So there was a study done on the earthquake that took place in San Francisco in the early 1900s. And sociologists argued for years about this data that followed the earthquake because 2 things happened nobody expected. Divorce rates, right? The city's wiped out. People are out of their homes. They've lost loved ones. Everybody's affected. Divorce rates went through the roof and marriage rates went through the roof. And they would argue about whether natural disasters and crises brought people together or spread them apart. And here's what they figured out. It didn't have to do with either. It had to do with how a human being handles ambiguity. Think carbon monoxide poisoning. It doesn't matter if you're getting poisoned in your car, at work, it will accumulate. And people get ambiguity poisoning. And what happened in San Francisco was they'd had so much of their lives turned upside down. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
That if they were thinking about getting a divorce, they got a divorce. They couldn't handle anything more. If they were thinking about getting married, they got married. And I think that piece of insight right there, when it comes to organizational execution in times of ambiguity, is gold. It's so critical to know that the people who work for me, myself, 80% of our ambiguity capacity just got spent, right? My brain is spinning all the time. I have a very small window where I can handle any more ambiguity, and I better spend that on the strategic pivot. Whatever thing we need to do in addition to day job,
yeah,
I better not have 5 goals for the team right now. I better get it down to one thing, be crystal clear. Otherwise, everybody locks up. They can't even hear me.
I totally agree with you. Crystal clear focus on the one thing. And I read a book, I think, called The One Thing recently.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. There's been a couple people that have hit this theme, and we've had the. It was funny. Marriott's the biggest user of 4 disciplines of execution. Yeah. I mean, they're getting destroyed right now, so impacted. When they launched this thing 12 years ago, the person that's now the number 2 guy at Marriott said this to the team. He said, "Look, if you want to keep your jobs at Marriott," he's talking to leadership. He says, "You want to keep your jobs at Marriott, take care of the day job. We'll never fire you." He says, as long as you take care of the day job, you always have a job here. And they know something's coming, right? And then he drops the other shoe and he says, but if you want to get promoted, give me one. Give me one thing. And bring me event satisfaction. Bring me everything in working order. Bring me arrival experience. Call your shot on one critical metric. Maintain the operation. That keeps your job. But you want to get promoted, show me you can get one result. And so at Marriott, operationally, this notion of the day job, which we refer to as the whirlwind plus one. And the whirlwind, right, is everything I do every day. I know it. There's not a lot of ambiguity. The plus one represents ambiguity because I don't know how to achieve that goal yet, but it's not whirlwind plus two and it's not whirlwind plus five.
Yeah. So I love your book, as you know, and you start off and you talk about focus and goal setting and WIGs. And I'd love to take your principle of the book and apply it to crisis.
Yeah.
Because having clarity, getting information and buy-in from the team,
right,
having everybody feel like what they're doing matters.
Yes.
So if you could apply your 4 disciplines to crisis today,
yes,
that would be awesome.
So the first thing I would say, and we talked a little bit in the last segment about this, as a leader, be very clear, and I think probably most people are, be very clear on the things that you as the leader have to do and can do, and be very careful of your own degree of focus and distraction right now. You have to, take a page from Peter Drucker's The Effective Executive. You have to be on your A game right now. You don't have time for panic. So there's certain things that the leader has to be able to do to secure the operation that only the leader can do. In terms of engaging the organization, in terms of where the organization goes, recognize that most people are, and I don't want to be critical in how I say this. I can see it. Most
times
people
are such you could take a little because people need to hear the truth.
Yeah, all right. Most people, and I'm going to throw myself in here because I'm fighting it too, are in a very dysfunctional sort of ping pong match between spending time in areas over which I have no effect or control whatsoever. I'm speculating about the president, whether the Chinese were really at fault, whether I'm speculating on dynamics around pandemics I don't even begin to understand. Right. I got theories. I'm arguing on Facebook. Like that's now sucking more and more of my time, right? Yeah. And I'll bounce between that and here's the other side of the dysfunctional ping pong game. Right back to day job. Minimal amount of time to just hold down the operation. Now, what's missing in this ping pong match is the critical area of focus that the organization needs to double down on right now. Like I just got through the window at Zaxby's.
Yeah.
We got no more dining room. Our whole schedule got turned upside down. They're right. There's one goal for them right now. It's speed of checkout.
Yep.
We got a line of cars running out into the road. We're gonna live and die in the next 3 months on speed of checkout. Now that's an incredibly simple story, right? Now there's other things that the leaders have to do at Zaxby's, but what's their ability to really, and then to come out of this, like you said, Evan, come out of this with, you know what? That was a brutal 3 months, but we've never figured out speed of checkout like we have today.
Yeah, that's true. And, the opportunity for growth, when you sit back and you think about, I hate to say this, the upheaval, all the things that were difficult before, hiring, finding real, you really are Zaxby's.
Yeah. I had the cup in my hand. Keep going. Sorry, Evan.
It's okay.
You saw my Zaxby's Coke.
Yes. But the opportunities to grow, cost of capital is going to be low.
Yeah, right.
It's going to be an amazingly fertile ground if you can get from here to there. So let's talk about people.
Yeah.
Because fear And, you know, I loved what you talked about, people getting overcome by it. And it's easy to do. You know, a lot of people working for you are worried. How do you as a leader engage them in a way that they can feel productive and they can feel what they're doing is making a difference, and that they can have some degree of comfort? Or is there no degree of comfort, and that transparency?
The first thing I would do is have everyone Google Marriott's CEO's comments to his people. If you have not seen Arne Sorensen's comment to the Marriott organization, I'm going to get emotional thinking about it. Yeah. I've never seen anything quite like that before. It was extraordinary. I think there is a 10-minute video out there that is an absolute model of how you talk to an organization that just lost 90% of its business. This is Arne Sorensen's comments. This is a person that's struggling with cancer right now. He's got his own crisis going on. And the amount of honest human empathy that he has, I think there's certain attributes that are really critical. I think empathy is huge. I think straight talk is huge. No, people's ability to smell BS is so finely tuned. Don't even try it. And that's the other side of that is transparency. Just be honest. I think people will give you, if they feel like, even if you're sharing things that are scary, if they feel like their leader is authentic and is being real with them, I'll follow you into a scary place if I trust you, right? Even if the picture isn't, all roses, I'll stay with you if I trust you and I believe you. Our CEO, Bob Whitman, has done a beautiful job, and our president, Paul Walker, at FranklinCovey. By the way, I'm not just helping people get their bearings, but of saying, look, let's not worry about ourselves right now. How about we not do that? How about we first worry about our clients? How about we look at what we offer? Let's not be ambulance chasers. Let's not take advantage of this in a weird way. How about we actually think about them? Let's not think about ourselves in this moment. And let's take a contribution angle on this thing. And sometimes these events, they really bring out the best in people. And I'm telling you, you got to see this. You got to see this Marriott clip. It's stunning.
I'm definitely going to dig it up. Definitely going to dig it up. And if I do dig it up, it's definitely going to be attached to the description of this program.
Yeah, that's a great thing to do. Yeah, send it along. I think everybody would really appreciate that along with the link. Thanks, Evan.
To your point, one of the first things that we did as a team is we produced in English and in Spanish a training program on health prevention around Corona. And we went beyond the normal things. We talked about how to make a clean home. And for anyone listening right now,
wow,
you want to take a shower when you get to the house and put your clothes in the laundry, because your clothes, they talk about hard surfaces and things like that, because it's easy for your hand to get on a hard surface. But the virus can go from your clothes right onto your sofa, right onto your house. So anyhow, we created these training videos, and then we just started offering them to our clients, to non-clients, to everybody in the world. The International Franchise Association, if a lot of people listening are in franchising, if you go to their website, you'll see a section, contributor suppliers. Our videos are there. And we estimate that by now more than 1 million people have watched our video. And, our team has such a sense of accomplishment because we're making a difference. And,
Amen.
And, if the things that we talked about in that video help a few people not get this virus or not die, I mean, that's, an amazing contribution.
To bond people. As I'm hearing you say this, I think about what a bad reputation the business world gets. And maybe, maybe some of that's deserved from time to time, but that's not what I see. When I meet with corporate leaders, I meet some of the best people. I mean, so many more really great people. And in this crisis, Evan, I mean, Everybody, to a person, every leader, safety first. I
Okay.
mean, their world's getting turned upside down. They're locking in on safety for first thing out of the, we got to keep our people safe. Like these institutions and the leaders that have grown up and are in positions of authority in these institutions, I find, and I get to work very closely with a lot of these people, are just really well-intended people.
Yeah,
and I think this shows.
I've had the opportunity to meet, a lot of, Fortune 20 CEOs in my life. And consistently what I'm impressed with is their empathy, how they see the bigger and complete picture.
Yep.
They are amazing listeners. And I think that totally agree with you. I think the rep is the total absolute opposite.
Jim Collins, about, I guess it was 20 years ago, started talking about the level 5 leader.
Yeah.
And in my experience, those people do very, very well. There are exceptions, right? But I'm with you. I meet some outstanding people. I think that character has really been in demand, and it has been rewarded, at least in terms of the organizations. And I follow lots of them because of the nature of execution, right? When I do conferences, right, I'm spending time up front with the leaders. They're telling me about their strategy, what they're about, and then I follow with this message. And so, I think that's it's a good thing to remember.
Okay.
There's
So one of your concepts in your book is involving people and getting ideas from the frontline people. How would you apply that to today, to what's going on in the world?
I think leaders struggle with this.
They want people to believe that they have the answer so that they have confidence in them. And they feel that when they ask for help or support or ideas, it implies they're weak. I think the absolute opposite actually happens. I think when people ask for ideas, it shows that they're confident and strong. But I know that this is an issue where there is that fear that, everyone's going to go running away from you, or everyone's going to not be focused on work, but be focused on other things and not doing the things necessary to help the business succeed.
Well, this is an unexpected surprise for us, Evan. When we started on execution 18 years ago, we were not thinking about the question you just asked. We backed into it by accident. We got to engagement, not because we should have. We should have been valuing it. We were after the stinking result. And in the process of pursuing the result, we got to engagement. Can I give you an example?
Please.
All right, we're talking about hotels. I'm going to stay in hotels for a second. It's a good model because everybody kind of knows how a hotel works because we all stay in them, right?
Yes.
And I want to contrast two things. I want to contrast the well-meaning leader who doesn't know how to engage with a well-meaning leader that does, in a way that you might not have thought of before. And I'm going to call this the problem with planning.
Okay.
Whenever you are planning as a leader, you have to be careful, right? There's a lot of things that have to be planned. There's a lot of things that only the leader can do. But let's say that I own a hotel and I've got to improve guest satisfaction. And I'm a planner. And I get a bunch of smart people in the room. Now there's 250 people that work in the hotel, but I grabbed 7 of them. Yeah. And we look around the room and we say things like, you always hear this, there's 90 years, there's 150 years of experience in this room right now. Okay, what do we need to do? Well, the front lobby needs to be recarpeted. We need a card machine. We need a new process for guest satisfaction on the with elite members. We need the new vacuum cleaners. We need all these things, right? You're planning. Now contrast that for a moment with, instead of planning, and by the way, even in planning, I can pacify myself by saying, hey, let's get a suggestion box. Let's ask them what they want to do. No. Let's go to this other side. Instead of going to planning, what if we go to targets? All right. We want to move guest satisfaction from an 82 to an 89 by the end of the year? What are the fewest, still in discipline one, what are the fewest battles necessary to win that war? We want to move arrival experience from here to here. We want to move room readiness in the early afternoon from here to here. And we want to move food and beverage quality from here to here. We get 3 sub-targets. We're doing this as a leadership team. We have an involvement.
Right now, it might be, how do we make our rooms cleaner?
Because of this, right? It can be very situational, but I want you to think of it this way. In the first example, you're working in oil paints. In the second example, you're working in clay. In the first example, you're working in what's. What are we going to do? We're going to get a new front entryway. We're going to get a new key card machine. These are what. Here, we're working in hows.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got that backwards. The hows versus the what's. The targets are I said that totally backwards. I'm so sorry. Are you with me? The targets are the what we want to accomplish. Okay. Now we got arrival experience. Let's break arrival experience down into how quickly can we check in? How long does it take to get the bags to the room? Right. Mechanics. Now, once I've got the targets taken down, Evan, now I can ask for input. Now, right? Now we get into the second discipline. What does let it be the team's game. All right. What are the top, all right, here are the top 7 things we can do to reduce luggage delivery time. Which are the 3 that you like? So I'm getting their ideas. Every week they're coming up with commitments. How, so taking the big challenge and breaking it down to the smallest level in order to create engagement. And so one of the first ways to get human capacity, right, is to stay in targets before moving to planning. Can I break the nature of the objective down into small enough pieces that the people that are doing the work can actually influence the outcome? And I know that's a mouthful, and I wish I had visuals for that. Does that make sense?
No. It totally makes sense. And what this is what I'm hearing from you, is you want to create things into bite-sized pieces.
Yes.
That people can digest and understand.
It still ring the bell at the top. Yeah.
Yes.
The small wins, very good, Evan. The small wins are the connective tissue between organizational objectives that matter and engagement at the front line of the organization.
Yeah. And now I'm going to say something you didn't exactly say, but you said on the podcast we just did,
okay,
and it's in your book, is that when you collect feedback, when you get feedback, you present options and you're open for new options.
Yeah.
But what I love about that is that you're giving people sort of a frame or an idea of expectation of the types of things, and that you're going to encourage people to be very specific about solution rather than vague. Because if you don't provide those 3 or 4 examples of potential ideas, and we're open to others, then I think you would more likely get a conversation that's not clear enough. And I thought that's a really
this is great. And I love what you're saying, because the idea of engaging people towards the work, that's not simple and it's not intuitive. It's not just about asking people. You can't just catch people cold. We can't just go to people. One of the things we do is we engage the front line around lead measures. We can't just go to them and say, hey, can you give us what do you people think is a good lead measure for revenue or transaction percentage for everybody that comes in the store? What percentage of the people buy? What's a good lead measure for that? They have no idea. But when you break it down a little further and you say, hey, here's the objective we're chasing. Here's the 6 best ideas we have. What do you think? And you take it from a menu idea, and then you get them to it. That's the second discipline, get them to engage. And then the third discipline is, once you've gotten them to engage and start to answer the riddle, can you post it? Can you turn it into something that feels live, that feels like a scoreboard, and it feels, and last time we talked about a winnable game, Evan, but it's also got to be a high stakes game. They got to feel like it matters. And then, right, the fourth is, can we put constant energy against that? And so what we learned was the only way to really execute on some things is if you have people's involvement, but there's some steps, there's some do's and some don'ts to really knowing how to get real engagement. It's not just asking.
Yeah. Which is why I listen to your book. Listening or reading your book. I'm probably the only podcast interviewer that you have that makes a distinction.
More people do it. I'm a listener too. Yeah. I'm an auditory learner, so I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, and I put you at 2-speed.
Most people can't do that with me. I'm surprised because I'm moving at a pretty good clip. So you must have a good ear.
The key to doing 2-speed is to do 3-speed for about a minute. And then when you get back to 2-speed, it becomes very clear.
That's great.
But here nor there, I want to be respectful of your time. I know you have a hard stop, but just quickly, if people want to connect with you, how would they do that? And then I'll ask you for your one tip.
Okay, so the nickname for 4 disciplines of execution is 4DX. And if you go to Chris McChesney at 4dx.com, we can route you with anything that you need. You want to get a hold of FranklinCovey Consulting, you want to book a webinar or a conference, or anything, we're happy to help any way we can. Thank you very much for asking, Evan.
You're very welcome, and I appreciate you doing this bonus.
Oh yeah, delighted. It's a key question. Yeah. Watch the ambiguity.
Yeah. Right. So that's your one tip.
Oh, the one tip. Yeah, for this today. Yeah, like it's different, right? For today, now, be very, very clear on the focal point. And the focal point cannot be conceptual, folks. It can't be an idea, even a compelling idea. It's got to be translated in the form of a target. Does your focal starting line, a finish line, and a deadline? If it doesn't, stay on it until it does. It's very hard to execute on a concept. We do much better executing against targets.
Well, thank you. An amazing tip. I want to thank you for being a guest, and I want to thank our listeners for listening. Everyone have a fantastic day.
Thanks, everyone.